The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out.
So that's really beneficial. Those treatments are really beneficial for the mind. The treatments are going to change depending on your dosha. If there is a lot of excess weight, we're not going to use the Abhyanga, the oil massage. We're going to go for the medicated scrub, the herbal scrub, and that's going to happen really fast, and it lifts the excess weight and fat and tissue off the body. We're going to go more for that rather than slathering with oil. If there's more of a depletion or just most normal, even if a little overweight's no problem, we will go with the Abhyanga. But in case of obesity, we'll usually skip the Abhyanga, go for Udvartana. But any unless you're really Vata and really depleted, Udvartana is amazing for people too. So there's just some examples of how we adjust treatments and decide on certain treatments. And unless there's hypertension, high blood pressure, pretty much everybody goes in the steam box during these treatments as well.
It was very relaxing, and your head gets to be like poking out of it kind of. So like if you've ever been in a steam room or a sauna, sometimes it can get kind of overwhelming. I really like the steam box because your head, even though the steam's like rising up a little bit towards your face, for me, I feel like less claustrophobic.
Yeah, you can stay in there longer without like overheating your face. And, you want steam on your face, but for complexion and everything, you don't want too much hot steam or hot water on your face. You want warm on your face. So it's really beneficial to be in the box with your head poking out.
Yeah.
You guys can, if anyone's interested, you can Google, steam box, Ayurvedic steam box. Kind of funny and adorable. So the reason being, all these treatments are part of surrounding these actions, these cleansing therapies that I mentioned. And when you come to a panchakarma, you get a doctor, and the doctor evaluates you and guides you through what medicines to take and what you're needing and decides your treatment plan. So what will happen? Oh, it just came to mind too, just to say panchakarma is also contraindicated in pregnancy. So I was saying the two reasons you wouldn't go into the steam box are hypertension and pregnancy, but you wouldn't even be in a panchakarma if you were pregnant.
Yeah.
However, if you had high blood pressure, you could definitely benefit from a panchakarma. You just wouldn't do the steam, and they would be adjusting things for you. So what you do, you begin with herbs that are called Dipana Pachana. Agni Dipana is one set of herbs, and Ama Pachana is another set of herbs. You take both Dipana and Pachana herbs. And what this means is Agni Dipana, it means it builds the Agni, it builds the metabolic fire. Ama Pachana means ama, the accumulations of toxins. We think of it in Ayurveda as like sticky accumulation of toxins. And these toxins, whether it's fat or mucus or just sticky stuff in the muscles or whatever it is, wherever it's found, it can exist. It can be found in all parts of the body. It carries it has free radical cells in there, free radicals in there. And so that's what makes the toxin, basically. It's the physical matter basically is accumulating and holding these free radicals in place in your body. So what you're doing with Dipana Pachana is you're building the metabolic fire and then melting that sticky stuff called ama that holds the toxins. So
that's interesting, melting it. I hadn't thought about it that way before, but that makes sense because the stickiness would obviously you know, have this like residue inside of your body. And, you know, like fire, heat, like they say in Ayurveda to drink like warm and hot drinks.
Yeah.
Because it gets shit moving.
Exactly. You know, a common buzzword in the U.S. would be like, you know, mucoid plaque in the colon, like that stuck plaque. That's one example of ama. You could think of it as like a dirty, oily pan that nobody washed, and it's been sitting there for, you know, 2 weeks. How hard is it to get that clean? It's stuck there now.
Right.
When a system's working properly and the Agni's burning properly, any of that stuff, that gunky stuff, is just cleaned right away. Somebody washed the pan right away.
Right.
What a good boyfriend.
I like how you said good boyfriend.
But today, my boyfriend, my body boyfriend, is slacking off a little bit, and so that pan's sitting there a little bit longer for whatever reason, right?
Sure.
The good boyfriend here is the Agni. So anyway, if you need to clean that pan now you're soaking it with hot water. You can't clean that pan with cold water. You gotta clean that pan with hot water and soap suds. And so these soap suds are the oil. So you're starting the panchakarma with these deepanapachana herbs. You're starting to liquefy and heat things up from the inside.
So are those herbs that you take orally or ones that are like massaged on your skin?
So you take deepanapachana herbs orally. You take medicine orally.
Oh, okay.
You also will take medicines that you need. It's not just deepanapachana. The doctor will give the exact right herbs for you. It's not just blanket deepanapachana herbs. There's so many herbs and herbal formulations to choose from in Ayurveda. It's going to be catered exactly to what the person needs. But there also are people who their issues are like high blood pressure and they're like overly hot, and so maybe they're not doing so much of this deepanapachana. Their panchakarma is slightly different here, so their herbs are going to be slightly different. But in general, we want some kind of this liquefaction process.
Sure.
This deepanapachana process, generally. There's always exceptions to the rule in Ayurveda. And so then you're also on the outside, like you said, there's medicated oil being slathered on top of you. So on the inside, you're getting the medicine. On the outside, you're getting the medicine. And usually you're getting slathered in oil or the medicated scrubs, and then you're sitting in the steam box. So you're like that. You can think of the oil as the soap suds. It's coming into the body, and it's like it's smoothing and sudsing up and helping the toxins to dislodge. And then you're sweating, also helping the toxins to dislodge. So there's this kind of, we call it snehapana, oilination, and swedana, sweating. And you're sort of doing that on the inside and the outside. You're hot soapy water, basically, analogy, but you're sweating and oiling. And then there's usually a component of medicated ghee. Depends, but it depends, but that's what I'm on right now, is you're drinking lots of medicated ghee. And that is another way that goes in and lubes and dislodges the toxins. So the idea is you increase the ghee so much that every day you become saturated with it, that it goes from the gut and then all throughout the whole body and just gets those toxins to get all slippity slidey. And then you'll do the purgative after you've done all this preparation.
Build it up, and then shit your brains out. Yeah,
and that's Virechana. That's currently what I'm doing, but there would be a somewhat similar process for Vamana, for enema. You're getting all the toxins, slipping them out, and then you're moving them to the gut, which is naturally how they move. It moves to the gut, and then you're doing this enema to release. Not coffee enema, but oil enema, and then herbal decoction blend of enema. And so, that's a couple of the panchakarmas, the enema and the purgation, and a little bit of an idea of what you're doing to get you to these cleansing therapies, but they're different for each one. Also, Nasyam, that the nose oil, can be worked in accordance with these other ones. That's really cleansing for the mind, cleanses the sinuses. So I could go on and on, but trying to just give an idea of how these therapies are designed to surround the intense cleansing therapies. And that will so much depend on the person. And then you'll also, in the meantime, be getting these, like we said, the Shirodhara and the things that are soothing for the mind. And, it's recommended to take quiet walks and do gentle yoga and meditate and eat the right food. That's all provided here. And all these beautiful offerings are surrounding these treatment therapies, because you can't just go doing these cleansing therapies all willy-nilly. It's this whole package. So that is the best I can do to nutshell the Panchakarma.
That was fantastic.
Okay, great.
So speaking of, like, say if somebody, like, people are listening and, maybe there's not an Ayurvedic center near them, but they want to kind of like dabble with something like this, is like, some of these herbs, some of these practices, are these some things that people can, safely recreate, obviously under the instruction of, like, say if somebody wanted to reach out to you, right? Like, one of my listeners was like, hey, Molly sounds awesome, because she is, and like wanted some guidance on something like this. Like, would they be able to do maybe like a mini version of this, or like, what is that? Yes or no? I have no idea.
Yeah, great question. There's a lot of what I'm speaking of that can be done at home, but a Panchakarma, to do the purgation therapies, you generally want to be
at a center
under supervision and carefully guided. You can definitely do oil enemas at home. That's super safe. And you can definitely take medicated ghee. You can definitely take Deepanapachana herbs.
Put it up your own butt.
You can definitely squirt oil up your own butt. It can be done. There's a special tubing for that.
It's like a turkey baster.
In fact, that's actually what I want to get as part of my daily, or not every day, but part of my routine, is to do that, because it's so good for the Vata colon, for somebody who deals with constipation and dryness.
I'm like raising my hand over here. That's something that I deal with the Vata. And so part of that question was honestly just for me, but I know that I can't be the only one that's going to be interested in, some home practices, which obviously is not going to be a replacement for coming to a center like this. But, sometimes people make do, and, if constipation is just like, we were talking about it earlier. So, which actually, just to share like a funny little story, and if you're following my social media, it's Thrive with Irene on Instagram. We have a TikTok now. It's actually Thrive Yoga Fit, and on Facebook is also Thrive with Irene. But I recorded a little video, and after I did this, I reached out to Molly, and she laughed about it too. But I had like the ghee enema, right? Like the smaller one.
Yeah.
And I was laying in bed, and, the ladies had left, which, by the way, they let you keep your dignity. They like pull down your pants. They're like, oh, okay, madam. And then they'll like pull your pants back up. And so I was like laying there, and, I had the blanket over me. I'm just chilling. And, I've been like really gassy because I'm like getting used to eating all the dal and rice and beans and stuff. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I have to fart. So then I farted, and I just say it was not a fart, and I geed the bed. And I think I almost instantly reached out to Molly because I was like, I know that you would understand.
Oh yeah, you told me you geed the bed. But now I'm realizing you sharded.
It's like what I was packing was ghee.
Forgotten about, but I geed the bed. Yeah, it happens all the time. So if you do an oil enema, you want to be home that day. That's a good point.
Yeah, I just one other just quick story is I used to have a gal that taught at the studio who was becoming an Ayurvedic practitioner, and she had done an oil enema before she was like hosting a workshop at my studio, and I guess unbeknownst to her, she did not eliminate everything. And she basically pulled up in the parking lot and called me and said, "Do you have a pair of pants?" And then, like, by the time I got back to her, she already, like, bought a pair of pants at the studio because she's like, "I shit my pants." She's like, "But the show must go on." And anyways, I won't say her name, but yeah, so it's a thing.
So in Ayurveda, we're very comfortable talking about poop. Very comfortable. It's a common question you will be asked if you go to an Ayurvedic practitioner or doctor. Be prepared to talk about bowel movements. It's a really important, not only, because of these accidents with oil enemas, but just because how your bowel movements are is a really important part about health. So what were we talking about before?
We were going to go to doshas, right?
No, dinacharya.
Oh, that's right.
So basically, dinacharya is like daily routine. And so there's so much you can do at home. And Ayurveda is so educational and generous and loving and giving with all that it can offer people to improve their health, mental and physical, and just well-being. And as you know, it goes in accordance with yoga. They're completely interconnected. The heart is the seat of consciousness in yoga, and also in Ayurveda, they have actually explained, like, doshically and physiologically how the mind is connected to the heart. So there's so much by the way of your lifestyle, how you approach life, and remedies and self-care practices, you could say, and things to follow to improve your well-being. That being said, I highly recommend going to a practitioner or doctor of some kind for expert guidance in terms of herbs and foods, particularly if you're going to take herbs. So commonly, in the West, it's like this is the herb for this, and this is the best thing for this, and here's this supplement or this formulation for this problem. Well, Ayurveda is always, we have multiple, endless.
It's a 5,000-year-old science.
Yeah, so. And the herbs, we've got hundreds, if not thousands of herbs, and then these complex formulations. So basically, if you, Erin, have an issue, and then me, Molly, I have an issue that seems like we have the same issue, we're probably going to get different herbs.
Right.
Because we're different people, and the doshas are acting differently. And so, like, eczema or IBS is just not expressing itself in one way. It has different ways of expression, different reasons that it came. So Ayurveda really treats the person, not the disease. The disease is there. There's the herbs have special functions for special diseases, but they are very much based on the inner working of the person. So
and that's why it's important to have a guru or be guided underneath a practitioner, because like your pulses, your tongue, all these different things are constantly in flux, right? Not to mention your personal constitution and your prakriti vikriti. So that's why it's so important to have someone who is knowledgeable to guide you in this medical art. It's so beautiful, and just hearing that people are, it's so individual, like respecting that person in the moment, and then underneath their supervision at things that adjust and change. I mean, while I was here, Dr. Jacine gave me 5 or 6 different herbs, and because my needs were changing.
Exactly.
So it's so I really love that. But that being said, things aren't a simple answer. And so that's why, again, having someone like Molly, to guide you is a really important part of this whole practitioner and patient relationship.
Yeah, the rogi. So that would be the Vaidya would be the physician, and the rogi would be the client or patient. But what it really means is the one who seeks healing. So any kind of healing. Roga is disease, but it also means anything that causes suffering. Even if you're having emotional difficulties, emotional problems, emotional suffering, mental suffering, anything, an injury, anything that causes you suffering is considered roga. And so the rogi is the one who seeks healing in any way. Even if it's just, I want a better daily lifestyle and I want to be healthier, that's still the seeking of healing. So the Vaidyas are very good with their rogis. We love our rogis. You know, even my doctor here, because he, you know, offers me support and guidance, he will say, how are our rogis? You know, it's a very loving connection with the practitioner and the rogi. So the herbs will be recommended in the US because we can't prescribe or diagnose or prescribe. Even Ayurvedic doctors in the US, even the doctors from India, they went to 6.5 years of medical school. These are some of my teachers in the US. They cannot call themselves doctors in the US, and they cannot.
Such a shame.
Diagnose.
It's similar with, I worked with an acupuncturist for about 4 or 5 years at a wellness facility before I opened up my studio. And it was like the language was always changing. Like she couldn't be called doctor, but she could be called like, it was like practitioner and things like that. I called her doctor.
Yeah. So we call our Ayurvedic doctors in the U.S., we call them by their traditional ancient name, Vaidya. The physician. So, so just to put that out there, that a practitioner, a Vaidya, cannot diagnose or prescribe, but they can certainly recommend herbs for you and guide you along with the process. And like Erin said, it's often changing. We'll do like 2 weeks or 4 weeks of something and then try something else. And the human body and the human mind is very complex. So there's a humility here where none of us are practitioners or doctors are thinking that we have all the answers. We have to see, you know, there's skilled guidance. It's very skilled. And there's still, okay, let's see how you felt with that. Always give us feedback about how that herb is feeling for you.
I love that. Like, you know, everyone was so interested, and I was like, oh, like I have a slight headache, or like, oh, wow, I'm like really bloated, or like, I mean, Dr. Jassim, like, I was having like terrible gas pains, which I was telling Molly, I was like a little sheepish because I was like, oh, gas pain. She's like, no. Like, don't underestimate the power of Vata, because I thought I was having a heart attack. It was like so crazy because I was releasing all this toxins and stuff. But anyway, the doctor here like came up to my room. It was like 10 o'clock at night and brought another lady who, she was like massaging my feet, and I was like crying like deep woman sobs. And this lady she was like, listen, she's like, I have 3 children. You are my 4th child. And Dr. Jassim was like just so compassionate and sweet. Like, everybody really cares. And it's so customized, so individual. It's like, you know, I know there's great Western docs out there, but I say this is what medicine should be. It's
yes,
beautiful.
For sure. Funny story about Viji is her name, Vijaya Lakshmi.
I love Viji. Yeah, she was the one.
Yeah.
She was the one. She was Viji.
I remember you told me that, and I remembered her, but she was gone for a little while, and I was gone, and I'm learning so many new words and so many names that I've forgotten her name before, and it happened again yesterday. And she thinks it's funny. She goes, "You remember my name now?" And I go, "You're not you're not Viji." And she's like, "I am Viji." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Viji." And then she goes, "You like me, ma'am?" And I said, "I love you, Viji." And she said, "Oh, thank you. Thank you." And I said, "You know, remember Erin? She told me how sweet you were." And she's like, "She told you that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she told other people too. Who did she tell? I said, "Me and Andrea." And it was a great way, it was a great comeback for me after forgetting her name. And just
lay on the sweet.
reminding her that, no, I know you, and we love you, and you're very special. And it was so sweet for her to just ask me if I liked her, and just show like how much, you know, that vulnerability of like, I want you to think I'm a great therapist. And you know, it's just such a natural human thing. And it was like, don't think because I temporarily forgot your name that I don't think you're amazing.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Aaron@aaroncoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.